the Nutcracker. One December night, a very long time ago, a little girl named Clara was celebrating Christmas Eve in a big way. She and her brother, their parents, and all her cousins and aunts and uncles, plus the neighbors and their kids, were all there, dressed up in their Christmas best. The house was all dressed up too. It was decorated with wreaths and stockings, mistletoe, and boughs of holly. Right at the center was an enormous Christmas tree, drooping under the weight of ornaments and shiny garlands. And the army of brightly painted soldiers in their red coats with gold buttons and shiny black boots. Clara and her brother Fritz and the cousins played under the tree, creating a military parade with their toy soldiers. It was her godfather. Her godfather announced that he had one more toy for his goddaughter. A wooden nutcracker, carved in the shape of a little toy soldier. Fritz was jealous, thinking the Nutcracker would make a spectacular addition to the parade under the tree. So he snatched the Nutcracker out of Clara's hands, and when she tried to get it back, he and the cousins played keep-away, sending the poor Nutcracker flying from hand to hand all over Clara's head. She watched in horror as one toss missed its target and the Nutcracker hit the floor. Broken. Clara burst into tears, but her godfather patched the Nutcracker back together with a handkerchief and patted Clara on the shoulder. There, he said. He'll be okay after a little rest. Clara thanked him through her tears and carried her wounded captain to a quiet corner. As the last of the guests waved goodbye, Clara crawled beneath the tree to check on the Nutcracker one last time and ended up falling asleep right there, curled around the little bed under the Christmas tree. At the stroke of midnight, Clara woke up. She rubbed her eyes to try to see a bit more clearly. When she looked up at the Christmas tree, she noticed, to her surprise, that it seemed to be getting bigger. In fact, the tree, the presents, the whole room seemed to be getting bigger. Or was she getting smaller? Suddenly, Clara's size became the least of her worries. Out of nowhere, gigantic mice dressed up in army uniforms began to circle the room. Then she looked over to see that her Nutcracker had also come to life-size life. And he had grouped the other toy soldiers into a battle formation to fight the mouse army. She threw her slipper at the Mouse King. It hit him directly on the head, leaving him dizzy and stunned. Now an easy target for the Nutcracker. He proclaimed victory and thanked his troops, and the mouse army picked up their dazed king and carried him away. She looked over at her Nutcracker and did a little double take. He was still dressed in his red and gold soldier's uniform, but instead of a round wooden head and painted eyes, she saw a handsome young prince. The prince helped Clara into the magical sleigh, and it began to move deeper into the forest, while the most beautiful snowflakes she'd ever seen danced and swirled all around them. The snowflakes led them all the way through the snow forest into what appeared to be an entire kingdom made of desserts. Everywhere, Clara heard what sounded like the tinkling bells of a music box. the kind with a tiny perfect ballerina who danced on the tip of her toes. And then she saw the perfect ballerina. She looked like she was covered in tiny diamonds, but Clara realized with surprise that her dress and tiara and even her shoes were made from sparkling white sugar. She was the Sugar Plum Fairy, and she invited them to a grand feast to welcome them to the kingdom of sweets. And then the dancing began. Leaping and twirling as they brought the guests mugs filled with hot cocoa made from rich Spanish chocolate. Chinese dancers delivered Mandarin tea. Then, Russian men in fur hats and loud boots sprang into the room to deliver candy canes. And then, a ruckus. A giant gingerbread woman called Mother Ginger danced in. 8 little ginger children came tumbling out from under the frosting ruffles of her gingerbread skirt and danced the silliest, sweetest dance. Then, the dreamy sound of a harp announced the entrance of an entire garland of flowers. Clara thought it was the most wonderful waltz she'd ever heard. Then, the Sugar Plum Fairy came back with her own prince to dance them farewell. Helped their guests back into the sleigh and tucked warm blankets around them. Clara looked at the prince. Had the whole thing been just a dream? Or had the magic of Christmas come to life? And had she seen it with her own eyes? The end.